All right, so I wanted to talk about this topic about men, right? And the thing is, right, like the harsh reality about it is that men are made, right? Men we start off with zero. We start off with nothing. Now, the reason why I'm talking about this topic is I've heard different versions of people talking about this topic, but now I want to give my idea on this topic, right? And when it comes to men, right, and men literally come from nothing. Men don't have at 18, men have absolutely nothing to offer, right? Men have no value, right? Men have to earn everything they do, right? They have to earn everything that's great in life. They have to earn it. That's the truth, right? Maybe if you're a billionaire son, a multimillionaire son, you come from a rich family, right? Then maybe it's a different story for them. But for the vast majority of men, you have to build value from scratch. You're gonna have to freaking do. You're gonna have to put into work. It's just a harsh truth behind it, right? Like today, I'm gonna be honest. I did not want to post today. I did not want to do any work. I had a late start to the day. I just did not want to bother today, and that's a big reason why I decided to film because I thought this is more realistic than talking about how great my life is, right? It's just more realistic to talk about that than talking about how easy everything is and how disciplined I am 24/7 because that's not the case, right? And that's not the case with most people you see online. Most people online kind of sell you a bit of a they sell you like a facade. They sell you like a version, a good day. They'll share you something that's great that's happening, right? They don't share you the shit, the trial and tribulations, all the shit they have to deal with, right? Or the shit they had to do to get to where they are, right? And that's the thing. You're gonna have to fucking make sacrifices. You're gonna have to. You're gonna have to fucking build from scratch. You're just gonna have to figure out what it is, right? And I'm gonna be on for men. It could kind of suck because it doesn't. It's not something. It's very uncertain. Like you have to face uncertainty, and you also have to face rejection, failure, right? You might even have to face people telling you how ridiculous you sound, right? But you just have to keep going. You have to keep pushing. You have to have a reason, like a strong reason below it. You have to have a strong why behind what you're doing, right? And I know people are going to say that, "Oh, but life is not all about work." And I agree. Life is not all about work. But there's a difference. What with men, men have to earn it. Men it's not given to men. It's not like women. Like I'm not like I don't want to make this a woman video, but women when women are born, they're born and they're valuable, right? They're already valuable. They're pretty, they're beautiful, they're feminine, right? They're youthful. When they start hitting puberty and they get to legal age like 18, they start getting invited to things more. They'll get invited to parties. They'll get invited to yachts. They'll get invited to tables at the club. They'll get invited. They have access to all these rooms, right? Especially if she's a very beautiful woman, she'll have even more access to rooms you can't even get access to until you get to a certain level, just because she's beautiful and she's hot. Let's be honest, but that's not you, right? You're gonna have to put in the work. You're just gonna have to fucking do what you have to do, right? And the thing about it is, you're gonna have to work on like all aspects. You're gonna have to work on your money, right? Maybe it's building a business, which is the path that I chose, right? It's gonna have to be that. It's gonna have to be the job route. If it's a job route, you're gonna have to work your nuts off. You're gonna have to um, maybe build relationships within the company, focus on getting promotions, focus on bringing value to the company. That's going to take time, right? And you're also going to have to navigate the Machiavellian type of office politics that you're going to have to freaking deal with because that's I guess that's a different subject for another time, but office politics is Machiavellian, but you're going to have to deal with that, right? You're also going to have to deal with you're also going to have you might be a sales rep, right? And Maybe you suck at sales, but now you have to build that skill, and that's going to take time, trial and tribulations. That's going to take time. So whatever it is for money, you're going to have to focus on that, right, for an extended period of time, right? And that means you're going to have to sacrifice a bunch of other shit, right? Like partying, going out. You're not going to have to be worrying about that because you got to be worrying on making more money, right? That's probably the number one thing that men have to focus on. And then another thing that men have to focus on is fitness, working out, right? Hitting the gym. Yes, technically, you could be a multi-billionaire and have zero money. I mean, and have zero fitness, but you could be rich, right? You could be a multi-billionaire and be extremely rich, right? But the problem with that is even a lot of rich men who are out of shape wish that they were fit, right? And plus, health is very important. You get to enjoy traveling, you just get a higher quality of life when you also have fitness accompanied with it. So regardless of what it is, it could be just playing tennis 3 to 4 times a week, right? That could be something for someone, right? It doesn't have to be combat sports like what I do or lifting weights, which is what I also do, right? It could be other stuff. But it has to be some form of fitness because that's going to give you your longevity, it's going to give you your youthful look. It's going to make you more confident, right? And it could be also a compliment to you making money, right? And I would say another thing too. The next pillar would be knowledge, right? Skills and knowledge. I would say that's the next one because there's a lot you don't know. There's a lot you have to study. There's a lot you have to do, and that's what comes from books. That's what comes from making you just makes you a better thinker. When you read like books on people more successful than you start making better decisions. It's just you might take more calculated risks, right? You might be able to understand what to do or what not to do. You might have an idea of it because you've read several books on the same topic, right? Or similar topics. So skills, maybe skills. It could be sales, as I said. It could be AI automation. It could be public speaking. It could be anything, right? It could be all that types of stuff, right? Even I would even argue learning a language, right? I know people say that it's not that important of a skill, and sure, it's not that important, but when it comes to just being someone who stands out, someone who's different, someone who's not just like everyone else, like you don't want to be like every other guy, right? You being able to speak, like for me, I speak obviously English, Spanish, and French. I speak 3 languages, right? And how many people in the US speak 3 languages, right? It's very rare. It's not common at all. So already there, I have access to a Spanish speaking environment. I also have access to a French speaking environment, right? So that opens doors for me. That opens opportunities to me in the future. That's the way I see it, right? And and then when I'm in a Spanish or a French speaking country, I'll have a better experience than the average person because I actually speak the language, right? I made the effort to learn the language, right? It'll give me more dating opportunities as well. That's the way I see it, right? That's like a big reason why I started learning French as my third language because I was just like, oh, French is a very common language spoken around the world, but it's also the language of romance. It's also, it's a cool language. I've been to France a few times, so I thought that would be a cool thing to do. But even that, like something like that as a skill is pretty, it just makes you look smarter. It makes you look more competent, right? Because that's where you really want to be, is competent. And then I would say, I've already mentioned books, but with books, right, it's just going to expand your knowledge base. It's going to work like compound interest. It's going to build it up more. And then even like another pillar that you can focus on, right, is financial knowledge, right? I'm not the biggest finance guy when it comes to that, so I don't want to talk about something that I'm not an expert in or I'm not like the best at. right? But like say with finance, right? That's something that I think is super essential that men should know about. Men should understand financial, like what about finances. Men should understand, and that's the thing. Most people don't know anything about finances, right? That's another reason why I love books. Like Rich Dad Poor Dad really helps you understand what to do with finances, right? And that's just one book about it, but there's many other books about it. You just got to understand the source. You got to make sure you're reading the right knowledge, the right stuff, right? And that's the thing. Um, it's that's basically what you have to do. You have to build. You have to become capable. You have to build your. You have to build your knowledge base. You have to build. You have to build yourself from scratch, and it's not going to be a cakewalk. It's not. It's really not. There's going to be days that you're just gonna, like me today. Like I didn't want to do anything. All I wanted to do was lay down in my warm bed while it was 10 degrees outside, 14 degrees outside in Chicago, right? And I had to push myself to go to the gym, right? And just deal with the late start. Like I'm having my coffee. It's already dark out, right? um, and I'm pretty sure it's like only like 5 o'clock. That's Chicago for you, right? In the wintertime. And I just have to deal with it, right? Um, like I don't see any plans, and personally for me, I'm not gonna celebrate Christmas, right? For me, it's like this is my grind season for me, right? This is this is the time to grind and focus on me, right? I'm not gonna focus on anyone else right now. I'm focusing on me, building myself, getting myself to where I want to be, right? And if you're in the same position or you're thinking about going to the same position, you might as well do it because at least for an extended period of time. Because what's the alternative? The alternative is you're not competent. You never get to your goals. So there's some shallowness behind you, and people just don't respect you, right? Because that's the thing. Men, we have to build value, as I mentioned earlier in the video, right? Women are given value. They just have it. They just inherit value because they're hot, right? We can't just be hot. Even if we are hot, there's a lot of effort you have to put behind being hot. And then you have to spend money, right? Like it's not just men can't just go with being with looks. It's more than looks. It's social intelligence. That's another thing I always talk about. Social intelligence, emotional control, right? Being being very being able to control his emotions, right? If there's a stressful situation, right, you're able to remain calm in the storm, right? You're the lighthouse in the middle of the freaking hurricane, right? You're the lighthouse that's standing still while the water is going wild around it. That's you. That's what you have to be, right? And emotional control is built through practice. It's not something that you just get better at when you get older. People may say, "Oh, it's just something you get good at when you get older." It's not true because there's a lot of men who can't control their emotions. Most people in general can't control their emotions. So even that right there makes adds to being a competent man, makes you being a better version of yourself, right? And that's another thing too, right? Because there's going to be shit that's going to happen. There's going to be something that's going to piss you off. There's going to be something that's going to agitate you. There's going to be someone who's going to try to get under your skin. And you just have to control your emotions. I'm not telling you to hold it. You can still feel the emotion, but don't lash out like what people want you to do, right? And yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. You have to build value. Remember that. Men have to build value. Men aren't given value, right? Men aren't born with value. You have to build it from when you're young. Like you don't earn it. I mean, you don't just get it, right? Unless you're from a rich family, then maybe there's some exceptions. But for the vast majority of men, you have to earn your value, right? And I'm just gonna leave it at that. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed. Take care.